Welcome to everyone. In this week's video you will learn how powerful and profitable are the cycles, and how to use them to trade the gold market to increase your profits. This week's video will cover the gold market for the week of May 20th, 2024. Before we start, make sure you read carefully the disclaimer. The April 12th all-time high at $2,448. And the GLD ETF $225 the same day, are still not broken yet. Since that high, the gold market started a correction. The actual 20-week cycle started 183.78 in mid-January 2024. Since this is the second 20-week cycle, since the last major low, the gold ETF is on his way to form his 40-week cycle. If this is correct, after forming his peak, we can expect the gold market cross below his 20-week cycle line, providing a potential downside target on his way to form his 40-week cycle low. There is a possibility the 40-week cycle already make his peak at 225. When we will have the 40 weeks peak formation confirmation? When the gold market will cross below his 20-week cycle line. When crossing below the 20-week cycle trend line, and when the gold market will cross below the 80-day cycle trend line. The low for this cycle is expected mid-July. In the meantime, for this week, the cycle trend is down. The success rate is 100%. Let's see the 80-day cycle. Like I mentioned in my previous update, the May 3rd low is the 80-day cycle low. This cycle is 78 days long, 10 days longer than the average. On the Hurst nominal model, the length for the 80 days is 68 days. Like expected in my last update, the gold market finds support on his cycle line. Let's see the roadmap. Just as reminder, the cycle line used on the roadmap is the 20-day cycle line. Since the last 80-day cycle was on May 3rd, we are right there. The gold ETF is on his way to form his 20-day cycle peak. Then after forming the 20-day cycle, the gold will start a correction to form a low on May 20th, finding support on his cycle line. If the gold cross below his cycle line at that time, this will be the first sign of some weakness of the gold market. Then the gold ETF will rally and form his 40-day cycle peak. To stay bullish, the 40-day cycle peak have to form on the right part of the 40-day cycle. Then after his 40 days peak, the gold ETF should cross below his cycle line, providing a downside target for the 40 days cycle low on June 6th. After the 40 days low, the market will cross above his cycle line, providing an upside target for the 80 days cycle peak. After the 80 days cycle peak formation, the gold ETF should cross back below his cycle line, providing a downside target for the next 80 days cycle low, forming a first low around mid-June, then rally toward his cycle line, using it as resistance before heading down to July 10th to form the 80-day cycle low. This second 80-day cycle will form at the same time the 20-week cycle low. At that time, the gold ETF should cross below his cycle line, providing a downside target. The success rate for the 80-day cycle is 50%, and since the beginning of the year we have only two signals. Since we start a new 80-day cycle, the cycle trend is up. Before going further in this analysis, let's talk about the success rate. From this week, you will notice different number on the success rate compared to the previous videos. The reason is, on the previous videos, it was the compilation of 2024 and 2023. Because it was the beginning of the year, so I have not enough data. Or if you prefer, not enough signal to have an accurate picture. But now after 5 months I have enough data, at least for the short-term cycles. Except for the 20 and 40 week cycle, from now the success rate numbers will be only for 2024. Why not for the 20 and 40 weeks? Because 20 weeks is about 5 months and 40 weeks 10 months, so we cannot have any signal yet. I will also mention the number of signal for each cycle. The 40 days cycle. The last 40 days cycle low occur on May 3rd with a low at 210.71. The next one is expected on June 6th. On April 30th, the gold ETF crossed below his cycle line at 216, providing a downside target at 207.51. $8.79, or 4.06% as potential profit. On May 3, the gold ETF made a low at $210.71, missing his target by $3.21. This is a bullish sign. Since the May 3 low, the gold ETF crossed above his cycle line at $217 and $215, providing an upside target zone between $224.95 and $219.83, or $7.12 and $4.56, or 3.27% and 2.12% respectively of potential profits, with a high at $221.31 on May 15. The gold market entered the lower part of the target zone, meeting his target. The peak for this 40-day cycle is still expected on the right part of the cycle, after the red dashed line. With 4 signals since the beginning of the year, the success rate is 75%. When the actual 40-day cycle low will be confirmed, I will draw the 40-day cycle trend line to help to identify the next 80-day cycle peak. The 20-day cycle. The last 20-day cycle low occur on May 3 and the next one is expected on May 20, the yellow zone. On April 22, the gold ETF crossed below his cycle line at $216.44. Providing a potential downside target at $207.79, $8.06, or 4%. On May 3 with a low at $210.71, the market missed his target, a bullish sign. On May 10, the gold ETF crossed back above his cycle line at $216.01 for a potential target at $221.31. $5.30 or 2.45% of potential profits. On May 15, the gold market, with a high at $221.19 meet his target, for a profit of $5 or 2.45% in 5 days. What's next? The gold ETF should find support on his cycle line on May 20. The cycle line will be between 215 and 214. This week the cycle trend is down. With 6 trading signals from the beginning of the year, the success rate is 83%. The 10 days cycle. The last 10 days cycle formed on May 13. The next one is expected on May 20. On May 6, the gold ETF crossed above his cycle line at $214.12. For a potential upside target at $217.53, or $3.41 or 1.59% of potential profits. On May 10, the gold ETF meet his target with a high at $219.60. This week the trend cycle is down. This year, so far we had 10 trading signal and the success rate is 90%. In conclusion, we start to see some weakness in the gold market. The second 20 weeks and the 40 weeks cycle peaks should form very soon. To confirm the 40 weeks peak is formed or in formation, we will watch carefully the gold ETF reaction, when he will be near the 80 days cycle trend line, and the 20 weeks cycle line. If you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe, to make sure you don't miss any future important videos. This is the end of this week's video. Thank you for following me. Next week, I will publish another market update.